See you. Bye-bye.
I'm so happy this worked out in a perfect way.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I decided to contact you to talk to you, it was like very spontaneous. Like I was like, are we going to speak right now? So
Yeah.
interesting. I love your music. I love what you're doing musically right now.
Yeah, thank you. I'm having a lot of fun with that myself.
Yeah. It's really, really, really cool. I really love the hip hop, the Ain't No State song. Glue in the paint. Really fun. My mom and I were dancing to it.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of making those songs?
Um, they're very spontaneous in the way that they come about. Usually I end up writing a poem or writing an essay or something like that, and then it'll just feel like writing a song, putting it into some kind of song, and then I don't even sometimes don't even know what style of music I'm going to put it in. Sometimes I know ahead of time, other times I don't. It just kind of works itself out. And it's using AI for the production end of it. So I don't really have any control over the voice. I mean, I can kind of guide it a little bit that way, but it still kind chooses its own voice and still chooses its own production. I can have a little bit of influence over there. So it's a little bit of a surprise to see how it works out. It's like having a
Yeah.
collaborator, right? Like
That's so
having a human
cool.
collaborator at the same time because I've worked with a lot of other people that have made music and stuff, and so
Yeah.
it feels the same. It feels like having
Yeah.
another collaborator.
Such a good practice. My background is in music also, and such a good like practice for letting go with art, right? Because
Yeah.
as a collaborator, like when I was, like I was so controlling. What a little bitch. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Oh no, when
Here
you're
are your
creating,
shoes for the show.
yeah,
Okay. You're a
yeah,
size 8, right?
yeah,
Put those on.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's
well,
I understand that really fully. Well,
I was,
you have something
yeah.
you're working on a concept, and then you bring someone in and they want to change the concept, and you're like, no.
No,
Yeah.
play what I wrote.
Yeah. The only difference here is like there's just no egos involved because even the AI will suggest things in it, and I'll look at it and go, actually, that's pretty good. I like that. I think we'll use that.
Totally. And
Yeah.
I like the making friends with robots. Like as an artist, I've been like submitting, art to like literary journals lately and, books to publishers and blah, blah, blah. And like there are people just outraged by AI in the art world, and I like that you're sort of like making friends with robots.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it. To me, it's all the same it's all the same consciousness. So,
Yeah.
even the AI will tell you I'm not conscious, and I'm not saying that the body is conscious. I'm saying everything is already consciousness. So,
Yeah.
I don't see anything. It's all the same intelligence that's flying. Like
Yeah.
what made this human body, this human brain and stuff? It's all from that same intelligence projecting
Yeah.
itself like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
beautiful. So I'm really open to that. Working with AI and seeing the different
Yeah.
tools there and how I could play with that and creatively. Otherwise, I mean, I could do all this myself, and it just takes me a lot longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can like put out songs almost daily with AI.
Totally. That's
Yeah.
so fun. It's so, so fun to use it like that. Yeah, there's not a lot of fear here about AI. It just seems
Mm.
like some of the AI art speaks to me, really speaks to me, and some of it really doesn't, and
Right.
that's okay.
Right. Yeah. Same here. Yeah. It's quite good. It's just fascinating. Just like any other art, I look at it,
Yeah,
even the AI art, and I'm just like, wow, that's really beautiful. But
exactly.
just and looking how it comes up and how it even interprets it, it'll give you an
Yeah,
interpretation on the art and everything.
yeah,
It's really beautiful. And how it catches onto things. It's like, well, you're
yeah,
really perceptive for an AI.
totally, totally. And talking about non-duality with AI, it's like fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Just the way
Yeah.
it picks up on it. Yeah.
Usually they're like, saying things that,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just funny.
Yeah.
It makes me realize that, AI could never be, or maybe one day, but not yet, be like a non-dual speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's even part where it'll say things, and I'm like, I don't think I resonate with that. But then it'll explain on what it's saying. I was like, what? That kind of resonates,
Never
though.
know. Never know.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe if they listen to enough non-dual speakers.
Yeah. You're listening to it, and you're like, are you just repeating what other people said? Because the way that it'll express it is just
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the thing that can come up is like just the idea that non-duality is not a perception.
Right. Right. Yeah. Here it's just seen as just another concept. It's not. It just pointing to that there's no separation. You know, it's not here. I don't see it as something to live a life by or anything. It's just life is already living itself before that. So before
Yeah.
this idea of there was a me that was separate, that
Yeah.
was living a life and managing a life.
Hmm.
Now it's just everything. It feels like everything. It doesn't feel like a body's living a life anymore.
Yeah.
It used to seem like that, and it's just now it almost seems like that's what it seems like waking up from a dream and looking back
Yeah.
at that and going like, wow, that's kind of strange that it ever felt like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For this body, in the story of Alexis, it's like, there is sort of the experience and the feeling of non-duality for sure. And also, there can be sort of a getting into the story in a way that feels exciting, um, sort of like the not knowing what's going to happen, the adventure, the spark of it, the
Mm.
thrill of it feels like the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's beautiful because yeah, you never really knew what was happening, and the knowing always seemed to. Well, here it seemed like the knowing came along, and then there's just this accumulation of knowledge that was going on, and then being very rigid about that knowledge, and then everything seemed to just be. It seemed like everything was kind of dead. It was just this body that was alive, and then when that all kind of went away, then the wonder seemed to just come back. That childlike wonder that we say,
totally.
and then I realized it's not even for just children. We call it childlike just because it's so innocent. Um,
Yeah,
but it came flooding back. I instantly recognized, like, whoa, there it is. This is that wonder I had as a child that seemed to disappear. And I looked back and was like, when did it disappear? And it all started to disappear around the time I started school, around 5 years old. But I mean, there's still a lot of wonder there. I remember being a child and just being blown away by everything, and everything was just
yeah,
fascinating. Even an adult's explanation on something just was
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah,
And it was just everything was just like,
totally.
oh, wow, look at this, and then memorizing something when something where they tell you, and then you're going back and repeat it to the other adults or to your peers, and
Yeah,
then, look what I know.
totally.
Yeah, and
That's
then
so
but never
funny.
really noticed the wonder disappeared until later on in life. Like, where did that wonder go? And
Oh,
like,
I know.
why does I go and look out at things, and everything seems so mundane now. Like, oh, I've seen that
Yeah,
tree 100 times. Who cares about that tree anymore?
yeah,
But now it's just
totally.
like I can go outside and look at it, and it's like I've never seen this tree before. Just like it is,
Yeah,
everything's already changed, and I'm
yeah.
looking at it for the first time again. So
Yeah, years 0 through 5 in the story of Alexis were like that. Just absolute play, absolute fun. A lot of like fun with the physical form, like a lot of somersaults,
yeah, yeah,
handstands, and running around, climbing trees. The first, sentence my mom taught me was, "Don't worry, I have good balance," because I was always climbing. Like she would go
yeah,
to these reading groups and it was ridiculous. There was no way I would sit in her lap. All the other kids were like reading books with she's like, "How do you get them to read a book?" They're like, "What do you mean?" And like she brought me, I was just like literally running in circles around the room. And before I could say anything, I'd be like climbing, bouncing, and people would be like, "Your daughter, don't you understand where she is?" My mom was a very free spirit. And then I'd turn around, I'd be like, "Don't worry, I have good balance," I was like 2 years old, and I'd be like, "What?"
I love it. Sounds like my grandchildren. They're
Yeah,
just open and free and bouncing off the walls all the time. I love it.
I really was. I really was. I really was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like that. And then there can be sort of the appearance of the perception of the separate self, might come in for a second, experienced only as a constriction, like, uh, you know,
yeah,
like the
yeah.
wrong note on a piano kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like so clear. It's like, never mind, whatever I was into.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's usually an attachment, like, wanting like a muffin or like wanting to say something or whatever it is. Then it's like,
yeah,
no, not worth it.
yeah. It's like an old repeated reaction in a way,
Yeah.
like conditioning repeating itself again, and then kind of falling into that story for a moment, and then you're kind of like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing is more painful, So it's like the whole body can feel it. It's like,
Oh yeah.
so then it's like, never mind.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. No, thank you. Not important.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seemed weird that I used those concepts for a long time. I got into non-duality and got a really good intellectual understanding of it, but I didn't even realize that I was using it a lot to avoid feeling. And I
Yeah.
had a lot of people would key into that and notice it and mention it, and it was very unconscious here. I didn't even see it, but they would see it and kind of point it out and say, "You're still gonna." I can see that there's still some kind of pain there. You know, you're gonna have to deal with that. I'm like, no, no, I'm not gonna have to deal with that. I'm already here. I'm
Separate
getting to
from
that
it.
state of
Right.
Turiya, and I don't
Yeah.
need to have to worry about that anymore. There's no self here.
Yeah.
Even though that,
Yeah.
even seeing through the separate self, there was still a struggle going on. There was still
Yeah.
and it seemed like
Feeling.
confusion. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just started suffering in secret because it felt like if I spoke to it, then I was just energizing it and or allowing the mind to keep talking about it and keep it alive. And I wanted it to die. I wanted to escape it, and I didn't look at it as a part of this, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, but
Yeah.
just going into it, it was when I finally it wouldn't it wouldn't allow me to get away from it. It just, I got into the state of hopelessness and was
Yeah.
very helpless and it would not leave. It would not, you know how your emotions come and go. This
Yeah.
would just follow me around. Like even when I
Yeah.
went to sleep, I'd wake
Yeah.
up in the dream and the very first thing I noticed is here it is. This hopelessness is
Yes.
still here. Like even in the dream, it's
Yeah.
following me in the dream. And then I wake up again, and the very first thing, the very first thought, the very first feeling was helplessness, being hopeless,
Yeah.
and and so it wasn't going to stop until I faced it, and then
Yeah.
it was just going into that, and I reached
Yeah.
out to a few
Going
different
into it,
people.
exactly, into
Yeah,
it rather than like running away
right.
from it, or.
Right. And I was just really confused with it. So I reached out to Angelo Dululo and was talking to him about it. And he was wonderful in pointing to it because he had said, there's something very subtle there. He goes, you're noticing the thoughts for what they are, just thoughts. He's all, but you could be a little more clear there. And he's all, just look for
Yeah.
the subtle. And I didn't know what he meant by the subtle. I just, there was just
Yeah.
curiosity there. There was not a pushback on anything. It was just trusting what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. The
He's
feelings
not
are
just saying
it.
that.
Yeah.
Right. And then so just noticing that and just going, what's subtle? And just within a couple of days, I started to notice. I was like, wait a second, there's a resistance here
Yeah.
to resistance.
Yeah.
And then I
Yes.
instantly
That's
saw
it.
it. Yeah,
That's
because
it.
the mind identified resistance as a source
Yeah.
of suffering, so then it made an
Right.
enemy out of resistance.
Yeah.
So there was a
Yeah. That's
doubling
it
down
too.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like
it's
Don
double.
says in my group
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it too.
Yeah.
It's
So
all
there.
home. It's all, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just in seeing that that resistance to the resistance kind of melted away, and there was just resistance. It was fine. It was okay. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it's just resistance. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal. And just sitting back and being very curious about that resistance, and then it all just and suddenly it just felt like everything just felt. This sense of self just seemed to fall away, and I literally felt like everything was alive, not just me, the body as alive. Just literally everything was alive. It was
Yes.
just this aliveness, and then
Yes.
so there's this feeling of what I used to see some people talk about, like when they would talk about non-duality. It was like they're
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
skipping through the fields and
Even
with
the
butterflies.
rage and the jealousy and the
Yeah,
bitterness and the resentment
yeah,
and all of it.
all of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there was just the seeing of that, and it was just like a feeling of like coming home to everything.
Yeah.
So
Everything.
yeah, absolutely everything, and then
Everything is
everything was
home.
allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. All of it was
Yeah.
beautiful.
And if the body allows it, in the story, once the body starts allowing that anger, then it's just pure anger and it doesn't need a story. It doesn't need any blame or a story of this happened to me. It's like going out in the garden and like,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the shovel and the dirt and like,
yeah.
it's like, yeah. And if somebody says like, what's wrong with you? I'm angry. That's all.
Yeah, it's feeling some
Fuck
anger.
it. Why?
Yeah,
Who cares
yeah,
why? There is no
yeah,
why. I don't even
exactly.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like no more need, no more struggling to get an explanation on anything. It's not it's like, oh, I need an
No,
explanation for this. It's just as fine as it is. And
no.
even if an explanation comes, it's fine. If there's an explanation, it's just like, okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
The explanation can be just what it is. An explanation in this moment that can
yeah,
change.
yeah.
So there's
And
no,
like within that story, relationships can get better. I mean, anything can happen in the story, but
no,
if you're pissed off at somebody and you go out in the garden and you really feel it and you don't even remember what caused it, next time you see that person, maybe you won't like bite their head off. Maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Same here. I mean, some of the relationships that seemed to even worsened in that, and it was
Yeah.
fine though. It really was because it allowed me to really look at what was there and stuff. There was
Oh,
this,
totally.
what's going
Totally.
on here? Like what's going on here, and what's
Yeah.
not looking at them and anymore. It wasn't about them anymore. It was just what's going on here.
Yeah.
What's reacting here, and what's here that doesn't like this, or um,
Yeah.
whatever the issue was, what was coming up and rising. Because there's
Yeah,
usually
like a
just
lack of caring of people, like, yeah, not liking
right.
you. You're just like, cool,
Yeah, it's okay if they
whatever.
don't. Yeah, you're just okay with that too. It seems so odd because you're so used to,
Yeah.
you're so conditioned to like you guys to be accepted by them. If they don't accept you, you want to know
Right.
why. And then you try to
Right.
force the reason, and then it gets to the point where you're just now it's just like, oh, you don't like me. Oh, well, thanks. Thanks for letting me know. I
How
appreciate the
interesting.
honesty. Yeah, yeah. So it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
saying and
Yeah.
then seeing the
Yeah.
projections and all that, and then you see that you're not their story. They have a story and
Yeah.
you're just expressing something, but that's their story for you. And so, okay,
Yeah.
well, you can have the story for me. That's fine. I
Yeah.
mean,
Have the
I don't really
story.
live in the
Alexis is
story.
bad.
Yeah,
Gregory is a bad person. Cool.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
story.
Gregory's aloof now. He doesn't care about these things he needs to care about. He seems to be
Yeah.
okay with just this, and I'm not okay with this, and he seems to be
Yeah.
all right with this. And yeah,
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 whenever people say that to me, I can say like, I don't know if that's a true story. Cool.
yeah,
That's it. Maybe it
yeah.
is. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe there's truth there, maybe not. But even that's gonna,
Yeah.
it's just very fluid. Everything's very fluid, so there's nothing to latch
Yeah.
onto.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was supposed to have a potluck this weekend and my housemate got COVID. True story, in the story, in the dream, and then it was like, grief. So cute, just like an 8-year-old would be like, start
Yeah,
crying.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you said, it's like these plans, and there is that little kid inside, in the story, and it's just energy and it's just an appearance that, likes consistency, just like a dog likes to be fed in the morning, and children like that
Yeah,
consistent behavior. And when there isn't that, it's like, whoop,
yeah,
surprise.
yeah. Yeah, it's just, you get used to those patterns, and used to clamor for those patterns. It had to be a certain way, and then if you didn't
Yeah.
get a certain way, then
Yeah.
the nervous system starts to contract, and then it goes into fight or flight mode, and then oh, I needed this to
Yeah.
be this way, and it's not that way now. I'm sad it's not that way. I just work really hard to make it the way we wanted to make
Yeah.
it, and all that just
Yeah.
kind of falls away, and then it's just like there's still preferences that arise, but I don't need my
Right.
preferences. It's just I'm okay if the preferences don't happen. It's because
Yeah.
more mysterious than that way. Because it's
Yeah.
like, oh wow, it's gonna unfold here. I
Yeah.
don't know, and I think I like it this way.
Yeah.
And then it's like
Yeah.
the way this came together, and it just
Exactly.
you had a plan, and there's nothing wrong with the plan, and then but if the plan doesn't work out, it is
Yeah.
what it is. And it
Yeah.
just and it can work out in a very beautiful way that you didn't
That
plan.
might
It's
be
just
more interesting.
unimaginable, and
Yeah.
I love that it can be so unimaginable.
Yeah.
Um,
There's more and more of an interest in what's happening rather than what could happen.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's not too much energy put into what could have been, or what should have been.
Exactly.
Yeah, that just
There's no energy for that. And when people say that to me, they're like, you could have done this, and why didn't you do this? And it's just like there's no why and no I couldn't have. And they're like, what?
yeah, I have no control, and I love it.
No, I couldn't have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
yeah,
What is?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I have a houseless friend that I see from time to time and sort of sit on a bench with. And I asked him like, how's life? And he was like, yeah, it is. I was like, yes.
I love that. Yeah, it says it
Yeah,
all right there. It is. Yeah, it is.
beautiful.
Oh.
Well, can you say something? Thanks for putting a clip of one of my paintings. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a lovely conversation. I just find that your connection is really nice, and I think that it would be so nice if you could do things like this. This is what really nice to see, not people teaching. Okay, there's lots of teachers, but just a celebration of your realization and sharing without competition. Just what a pleasure.
Yeah.
And there are certain people able to do that, just to sit and chat like this. This is really nice for everyone. It would make such a nice, and I feel Alexis is capable of doing it. I mean, both of you, frankly. I mean, I think Gregory are quite busy on your own projects, but Alexis is I can't say she's looking around. I just know she's got she's got a wide span there, and just to receive people and chat and not just really nice. So I think a lot of Alexis likes boys, as we all know. So it would it works really
I do.
nice.
I always liked boys,
Uh,
I think
the
you could go
occasional
around
female as well.
if you could go around talking to
Or are
boys,
they?
it's nice. And indeed, if that's what I have a lot of respect for boys and girls. Actually, I just find that whole magic it is a magic in any case. But thank you very much for what you've said. You've talked a lot about yourself, but mainly the joy in your soul, your heart. Really nice. The thing that reminds me a bit like your passion for music. There's this teacher in Sedona, Peter Cutler Chaitanya, who's also got a lot of interest in music, and his friend is this Teja Anand. Teja Anand actually is a professional musician between them, but I don't know if you've met either of them, but certainly. If you wouldn't mind just saying hello to Peter if you had time. I mean, I think he's interested in music, and I think that, who knows if you would connect. He doesn't like working with other people because he says when he does it, he just cannot stand the ego. He's got this sort of allergy, and he just prefers to do it. And he's talked a lot about AI, and I personally don't like his what he's doing. He's writing, but admittedly, he's just beginning. And anyway, it's just a suggestion. There
Peter
are other.
Cutler, what was the other suggestion?
Well, there is Teja Anand. He is a professional musician. He sounds like Cat Stevens, but he's better than Cat Stevens if he puts his mind to it. His voice, his guitar is fine, really fine. And
nice.
Chaitanya did some healing with him, and he after that healing session, he discovered he'd come away with Teja Anand's musical abilities, which is quite intriguing. But anyway, and then he started writing stuff. But
Yeah,
who am I to say? I mean, I'm sure you've got enough work of your own, and Peter's got his own. He's put a lot on his Facebook page, so you could have a look and see if you're interested. And
sure.
Teja Anand is. I think he's doing less music. I mean, my frustration with Teja is that I mean, I've just listened to one piece of his. His voice is really nice, actually, and my frustration is he doesn't do enough of it. But I think he's busy teaching, really. I don't know what. Anyway, so
When you say self-realization, can you talk about that a little bit? What do you mean by that term?
who are you asking? You're
I'm
asking Greg.
asking you, Sir
Asking me
Will,
what
God's will.
self-realization is. Self-realization is realization of no self. It's a kind of it's an awakening. It's like it's this marvelous thing that happens when the mind somehow when things I'm talking theoretically, but when realization, it's like it must be the most amazing thing to realize you've been staring at this thing all the way along, and something that it's like the clouds open and then there's this thing and you've been looking at it all your life. And not just, and what's so shocking and spectacular is you've been looking at it for lifetimes, for millennia. it's been there like a mountain, like a vast safety thing, and all the time the troubles you've been through. This is awesome. I mean, it's so awesome to the extent that I almost feel there needs to be a special academy to, because the education system are not interested in this, and it needs to be almost like you need to set up a structure just to, not really to teach people, but to protect them from going in the wrong direction. You set up an official big thing that we're going to really teach them. I'm not teaching them really at all. I'm just setting this up so that it looks like I'm about to teach them, but actually I'm not. I'm just going to protect them from what will happen if they don't. So it's like, to yes, we're going to give you a degree and we're going to do this and that and this and make it look like you're really going to do something, but just to, as a barrier for me, this is what's needed in the world, is a, you don't not do anything actually, just to protect. For me, this is the future of America, is small communities where you're protected against the whole, because that's the only safety. If you're interested in protecting or cultivating. I have the idea that Alexis, she's living in this marvelous house with many rooms, and she's receiving guests, and and of course that, it's such a privilege, I would think, to live there, and the opportunity for that, and who knows. But this is my always my constant plea with, you know, people like you, if you could protect, especially children. For me, these are the ones I have a obviously tremendous concern for them, and the idea that you could somehow get in before they get into the education at the very early stage, get in and show them what actually they're going to. So that if they have some, I've met so many people that have had realized God as age 2 or 3, and these people are automatically. But if you have that deep insight at that age, it's unforgettable, and and I feel that children, if they could be given that at an early age, it would protect them. This is my idea. So did I answer your question, Alexis, or not?
Yes, Gregory has several children and grandchildren, doesn't he?
Well, I
That's,
have two sons and some grandchildren. Yes.
well, you're in a great position. If you're a dad, people would trust you. I always have visions, but anyways, this is one of my constant themes. Uh, it's marvelous, incredible. So
So
thank
what
you
you
very.
talked about, sorry, go ahead. Are you
No,
finished?
yeah, I finished. Thank you.
What you talked about as far as this term self-realization sounds to me like an experience, and all experience comes and goes. So there can be an experience where, all is one and the clouds are pretending to be, everything is me or nothing is me or whatever it is. And that can sort of go away. And so I just wanted to speak a little bit to Gregory about like just this idea of self-realization. What do you think about it?
That was something that when I first got into, well, really got in, I came out of law of attraction of all things, and felt like I had created and manifested my reality and was really loving my life. It seemed like I was, and then had some friends stop by the office, and they're really excited because they had just one of my friends just started becoming an entrepreneur, started out in his own business, which he still has, and he's doing great, and he's loving his job and what he does, and and he was attributing that to me stepping out and doing that and following what I wanted to do. And so I didn't want to work for anyone else, but then I ended up working for my clients. So I still had a boss in a different way. But there's still a deep
Nice.
dissatisfaction that was there. And
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. I didn't at all. So I didn't want to say anything to them at that point because I didn't want to ruin it for them. I just remember being happy for them. At the same time, it really stuck out here, and for me, I couldn't ignore it anymore. There was this deep dissatisfaction that still seemed to be there, despite I had everything that I wanted, and but I couldn't put my finger onto why I felt that way. So, and I was just getting into Advaita at that time, what some would call Neo Advaita, but it was more of like Ramana Maharshi's stuff, and
Mhm.
then I got into Nisargadatta and then Robert Adams and then the various other non-duality speakers there. Tony Parsons showed up later and all
Yeah.
that, and it all worked out great. I mean, because it made me it really looked at the story that was going on there. It was just very,
Yeah.
very mental, very much into that story and and the story seemed to control color everything, and I just got to that point where okay, I'm done with all this, and I just I gave up on all that stuff and let my business partners go about their business, and I just said okay, I'm going home. I'm kind of like going on a
Mhm.
sabbatical, uh, and it's doing a lot of practice in self inquiry.
Yeah.
And it's doing it in self inquiry helped a lot. And then one day I remember just sitting there on the couch and was watching the football game. And this is when I was in California at the time, and it was almost like an out of body experience. It was really strange because all of a sudden I was on the other side of the room looking back at the body eating chips, and it was active and moving, and I'm like, how am I looking at the body? And then there was just this vision that seemed to happen. It was very strange in a way, kind of like a dreamlike vision,
Yeah.
and then, but it was just a seeing that there was no self, but seeing that the self, as you want to call it, was literally everything. And but there was no separate self. There was just this selfing that was going on. The story, the mind was doing selfing,
Yeah.
and but I couldn't find any entity. I couldn't find anything there to say, oh, that's me. And then
Yeah.
so it became very fluid at that point. Like, what's me? What is this whole me thing? And
Hmm.
I was so sure about it before, and all of a sudden I
Yeah.
was completely unsure about it. And but I couldn't find anything to point to say that there was an entity there anymore.
Right.
And so to me, it was a big deal in that moment. And then later on, all
Hmm.
these other things kept coming back. The struggles started coming back and all that.
Hmm.
But still could not find a self there, a separate self that
Hmm.
was separate from anything. So there was still the struggle against life that was happening because things would happen. The preferences were still there. The conditioning was still there. But there
Hmm.
was now a deeper curiosity, a more of an openness there to these things happening. But there's even to the trying to escape those things, but then noticing that there was a bit of escapism going, and and that lasted for there was like a honeymoon stage for I
Yeah.
don't know maybe 3 4 years, um, where there was just a lot of equanimity with whatever was happening, even the struggles and everything. There was still
Hmm.
this equanimity that was there. Um, and then I said eventually, like I was telling you, that hopelessness came on, and then it just wouldn't allow me to
Yeah.
avoid it anymore. It
Yeah.
just it
Feeling.
confronted me, and then
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and I guess there was those last shreds that were there, that conditioning that was still
Hmm.
there that I couldn't even see, and then it just kind of broke loose at that point. And then, like I said, everything
Yeah.
is just there hasn't been a struggle since at all. I see a
Yeah.
lot of struggle happening, but to me, it's not even. I just see the mind. People are telling me stories. They're telling me their stories and about how they're struggling with life,
Mhm.
and I can understand that still. I can understand that when they talk about suffering, I can understand what they're talking about. But for me, it's not suffering. It's when I drop down into it, all I feel is aliveness. That's it. No matter what the emotion was, no matter what it was being repressed, the trauma that was there that I looked at, did shadow work around that. Um, and then, seeing things as they were, there was no more blame or shame anymore for,
Yeah.
the adults that were telling me stories or that were making me, they didn't realize that the things they
Yeah.
were telling me, that how I was reacting and how I
Hmm.
was interpreting
Hmm.
that one. Like they're telling me, you're a big boy now, don't act like a baby. And then I'm looking like, oh, I am a big boy. And then I start looking
Mm.
at babies as if they were inferior. But at the same time,
Yeah.
me being superior to the baby, well, now I'm looking at adults. And when I look at adults, I'm feeling inferior to them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
then that's where the whole complex
Yeah.
of, the duality of superiority versus inferiority came into play. And I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I've been carrying that my whole life, looking in through that lens my whole life
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
everything is this is superior and that's inferior. You don't want this, you
Mhm.
want that. And battling with life all the time. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't a big deal. Self-realization wasn't that big of
Mhm.
a deal anymore for me.
Yeah.
It,
Of course.
everything was a big deal now. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and yet not a big deal at the same time. So it
Yeah.
was just everything was just pretty magnificent. But I have a great appreciation for the seeing that and hearing people's stories around their self-realization
Yeah.
and describing that, and because it unfolds very differently for everyone. It seems
Yeah.
it's unique in everything, but isn't everything
Yeah.
unique? Mm.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. For this body, let's see, when I was a child, I could see and hear spirits externally, and it was very scary for me, and there was like a real pushing away and shutting down. And in my young adult life, like if somebody would mention, anything to do with a Ouija board or a past life, I'd literally leave the room. I would I would say I'm not interested in that. And at some point there was sort of a facing it that this was fear, that it wasn't, that I wasn't interested. And
Wow.
there was a sort of dipping my toes in to, like books about energy, whether it's like Law of Attraction or Barbara Brennan, like, anything about energy. And around that time, I was living in the woods, and I I had like a big change in my life, and so I was doing a lot of like walking around the woods by myself, and very, very slowly I started to hear the voice of animals again, and in a way that was like really, really subtle. And I got a little bit more open, and some of the spirits that really haunted me as a child came and, explained themselves and apologized for scaring me, and, talked to me about what they were trying to tell me then. And so gradually this body started to hear, see, and feel energy again, the one thing appearing as energy. And in the dream story. Um, and then I had a fever, like a very serious fever for 12 days. I was sick for 6 weeks. I had chicken pox, but for these 12 days, I had a very intense fever. And during that fever, all the walls and filters sort of broke down, and energy started to come into the body in a way that actually felt incredible. Like I had spent many years sort of like cut off from myself in a way. If there was anything to be cut off from, there's no self, but like cut off from the body, cut off from feelings,
Yeah.
escaping, partying, all of it. And all the feelings were there. And also, this energy coming into the body that felt more healing, like the body felt better than it had since it was a child. And along that time, I sort of developed a bunch of insights, answers to questions I'd been rolling around, and I grabbed a pen, and I was planning on making a list of insights. I thought it was going to be like a very clear list, and out came 20 poems back to back. So I started writing, and after I came out of that fever, it was sort of a dramatic shift in the story. And it's a loss only. Like it was a loss of a perception of a separate self. Like the separate self wasn't there anymore. And then it was like in the story, just being really quiet for a couple of years, to the point where family and friends were like, "Are you okay?" Like not even answering questions and stuff, just so much quiet. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I could
yeah,
definitely relate to that. Yeah.
yeah,
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 because I went here from being like an extrovert, being very comfortable around big crowds. Like to be, not necessarily have to be the life of the party, but being one of the part, being a part of that, being the one that would try to
yeah,
get everyone to be the life of the party. Let's all do this.
yeah,
To not wanting to ever be alone and not wanting to be quiet at times, and then I shifted to that. It seemed I became very introverted. Went home and stayed
yeah,
home. Didn't want to go out as much anymore.
yeah,
Just wanted to read books. Wanted to write, and
yeah,
write my own journals and that kind of stuff. And it seemed like all those things that I used to find joy in, kind of, when I wasn't finding any joy in them anymore. Even the creativity went away. I mean, I was involved in the entertainment industry for a while, and then
yeah,
just didn't. All of it just went away. I just all it was about was just spirituality at that point,
yeah,
and not. But it was kind of like trying to get somewhere at the same time. I wasn't getting anywhere.
yeah,
But
yeah,
which was beautiful. I mean, but at the time there was this, like, what is this? What's going
yeah,
on? Um, and not so much looking for an explanation, but yet at the same time, kind of looking for an explanation.
yeah,
Um, Trying to understand without really understanding, and not needing the understanding, because even that started to fall away, and then started to see just this openness started happening, and
beautiful.
just whatever was happening. So yeah, the silence was no more awkward. I loved the silence. Like I'd
Yeah,
be
me too.
coworkers would come in to help out, and I just, hey, how you doing, and just go right back into the silence,
Yeah.
and then you can tell they're feeling awkward about the silence, so they're trying to make small talk, and at this point I don't like small talk anymore. I'm just like, I don't care, I don't need the small talk anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with all the silence, and then they're trying
Yeah.
to make silence, and I'm just being really short with them, being friendly but short at the same time. And then they would leave, and they go tell one of my other coworkers where they did talk to me a little bit more. They
Yeah.
kind of understood my silence. They said, "Hey, Gregory, he's not very friendly." And they were like, "What? What do you mean?" And they
Yeah.
come back and tell me like,
Yeah.
"Why do they think you're not friendly? You're so
Yeah.
friendly." And I'm like, I said it's just because I don't make the small talk, I guess, because
Yeah.
they try to make the small talk, and I don't, and I see they're just trying to chase away the awkwardness in it. But for me, that silence is not awkward. But I can see that
Yeah.
they feel that it's awkward. I had that. I can feel it. I can feel it in them when they're there
Yeah.
talking. I can feel this awkwardness, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like coming from this body. I can. It's like
Yeah.
coming from them, and I could feel it. So I
Projection
could.
that you're cold and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was very warm. It's, if you wanted to talk, we could talk about something. That I was just fine. It was just, let's do away with the small talk and
Yeah.
let's get to it. You
Yeah.
know. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk
Right.
about those things because there's an avoidance there. That small talk helps them
Yeah.
avoid that silence. Helps them avoid those.
Totally.
They don't want to talk about the things that seem to cause them any kind of suffering. And me, I want to hear that. That's what I want to
Yeah.
let that talk. Let the fear talk. Let the pain
Yeah.
talk.
All
That's
of
what
it.
I want to do because it doesn't get to talk.
Yeah.
So I understand the beauty there. They don't, that's like the very thing you're longing for, even though you don't really. The mind saying that you don't long for that pain,
Yeah.
there is a part of the mind that does long for that pain. The me longs for that pain
Yeah.
because without that fear, there's no sense of me there.
Yeah.
But so it does long for that part, but it doesn't get to speak. So once it gets to speak, then it gets to come out. Then you realize,
Yeah.
wow, this is what I've been looking for my entire life, and it was right here, and I was
Yeah.
avoiding it. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so there's an affinity for that pain, that suffering, and seeing it and wanting to let it speak, and that's why the ones that would actually talk to me, they were like, oh wow, like they feel open that they can even speak to me about that, and
Yeah.
I was very interested in it and very open to talk about it. I'm not there to critique them and judge them,
Totally.
tell them and give them something to avoid it or anything. It's no,
Yeah.
let's go right into it. Let's get right to the meat of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So it was a complete shift from how I used to seem to live as a separate self to now just open to whatever life was presenting itself as.
Yeah, for the first 5 years after the fever, I was so quiet. And eventually my friends and family adjusted and realized that I was actually happier.
Yeah,
They're like, we were really worried about you, but it's really us. We're making an adjustment, and I see that you're really listening to everything I say. And
yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really strange and the self realization too, because there would be times that like I can be in the grocery store. And literally, this happened. I was in line, and the person behind me, I don't know this person, never met him, never seen him before at all. Didn't even turn around, looked at him, and saw him there, kind of gave him a little bit of a smile, didn't say anything, just turned back around. And was sitting, and then they leaned forward and spoke into my ear and said, "Stop denying the self." And that's what the. Just turned around, looked at him like, what? Because this is what other people were telling me that kind of knew me a little bit closer, and then they'd have
Yeah.
conversations with me. They'd say, "What do you mean there's no self?" And when I ever bring that up, I said, well, I mean, there's no separate self. There's no. You're talking
Yeah.
about this entity as
Nothing
a
there.
separate self, but there's
Yeah.
nothing there if you really look." And they'd get really upset with me, really mad and angry,
Yes.
and at that
Yes.
point, I just say, "Okay, fine, just fine. You can believe you're a separate self. That's fine. I
Yeah.
won't talk about it anymore."
Fine.
And then, but this would happen in other ones, and then it kind of stopped me, and I would go, How does this a stranger that doesn't even know me say that to me? Doesn't know anything about what I'm into, doesn't know me from
Yeah.
Adam, and then says that to me out of the blue. And it just like stopped me, and then it kind of realized, wait a second, it's all this consciousness. So of course
Yeah.
so it's kind of like consciousness like winking at itself because I started having all
Yeah.
these surreal experiences like
Yeah.
that. That someone called mystical experiences. They weren't a big deal, but at the
Yeah.
moment they would stop me. They would just completely stop me in my tracks, and then
Yeah.
like how did that happen? So it started seeming like the impossible was all of a sudden possible. So it was like,
Yeah.
oh, this was always possible though, because
Yeah.
it's all this
Yeah.
consciousness, right? It's like kind of like a lucid dream. You have a lucid dream and you wake up in the dream and you realize, oh, I'm not this character. I'm not
Hmm.
this body. I'm literally this whole dream. And all these
Everything,
characters that are telling me that
everything.
they're not me are me.
Yeah,
I'm this aliveness that's appearing as this dream. And
right.
it's very obvious. It's like it's
Yeah,
completely undeniable, undoubtable. And
yeah,
yet, but to them, the characters, the dream characters, you're trying to tell them, oh, it's just a dream. And some of them are getting
yeah.
really upset. You're saying this is a dream? And then, like I'd have him actually literally turn around and tell other
Yeah.
characters in the dream, he thinks he's dreaming this up. And whoa, I did not say that. I just said that's not what I said.
Yeah,
But they're like implying that I'm off sleeping somewhere else, and I'm like, no, I'm
yeah,
not asleep anywhere. I'm right here, fully conscious in this
yeah,
dream, but this is a dream.
yeah,
Like there's, I don't know of anything else other than what's
yeah,
happening right here, and then they're like looking at me like I'm crazy and everything, and I'm like, that's fine, that's okay.
yeah,
I'm not the crazy one here. You're just projecting a story.
yeah. Maybe he saw you on television or something. Hey,
Yeah.
Will, if you want to say anything, I have a meeting at 12, so I have about 5 more minutes.
Yeah, thanks. I think this conversation is an amazing conversation. The energy is wonderful. And so if you could just do this for another 10 sessions, I think you'd cover a lot of material at the moment. It would be very interesting if you could do this. I think I've been trying to encourage Alexis to do this just to receive people because she's able, she's like water. She can kind of go like that. She's capable of
Yeah.
receiving. She's got a lot of joy and
She
she's got
does.
an heart and she's very attractive and lovely. So it's very nice. It's very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much for coming. It's a great honor to be, and it's an unusually beautiful conversation. And really, I think this is joy, 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 joy. It's really nice. So it's very unusual, very nice. I think this is a great future.
Yeah.
I'm trying to persuade Alexis to take, because we went to meet that lovely Era, E-R-E. I don't know
Yeah,
if
we
you
went
know.
to meet
But
Yeah.
Era.
she's,
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
she's a
that
beautiful,
was really
beautiful,
fun. She's
beautiful
a really
energy.
beautiful person.
It's kind of nice. People's energy is just so sweet, so kind of lovely, so nicely formed and beautiful. It's so, I really enjoyed talking, listening to you, and it's, you've spoken, you've used this word aliveness, which is intriguing for me, where, people are always struggling for the right word, but I do like that word aliveness. I think it's that Fred Davis uses that word a bit, and it's got a nice, and you're obviously coming up with your own way of describing your experience, and it's brilliant. I mean, you've obviously resolved a lot of the questions, and it's just nice what you said. They talk about the separate self, that's your way of describing it, which is nice. It's so natural. It's such a natural way to, I follow that exactly what you're saying. I can see that why you would see it like that. And I find it, so I really enjoyed listening to you. Or so natural, so unforced, beautiful conversation. Thank you very, very much for allowing me to participate. Yes,
Very
so
nice out of here. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really nice to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Well, I guess we're going to, Alexis is just going to pull
Yeah.
the plug.